Usually when we think about being polite, we just sort of assume it operates like universal human software.
Right, like a basic program we're all running.
Exactly. You smile, you say please, you definitely don't interrupt someone when they're speaking. We just walk around assuming that this basic code will compile and run smoothly anywhere in the world.
Yeah, because that baseline programming feels entirely fundamental to us. I mean, we assume good manners are just good manners, just a static set of rules that everyone inherently understands.
But the moment you step across a linguistic border, that universal operating software suddenly crashes.
Oh, it is a hard crash.
It really is. What you consider impeccably polite in English might actually execute as cold, distant, or even deeply rude in Arabic. And the reverse is equally true.
Yeah, the social rules you didn't even know you were running suddenly throw a fatal error.
And it's such a profound culture clash. Politeness is, it's highly specific and almost entirely invisible. You generally only notice the rules of a culture when someone accidentally breaks them.
For sure. Which is exactly what makes uncovering those invisible rules so much fun.
Which is our mission for today's deep dive. For you listening, we are unpacking a fascinating stack of sources to deconstruct the actual mechanics of politeness.
Specifically comparing Arabic and English, right?
Yes, exactly. We're looking at some really dense academic papers on socio-pragmatics, translator notes from classic Arabic novels, and this massive brand new AI data set called ADB.
It is quite the reading list.
It is. But the goal is to figure out why translating language actually requires translating the cultural code beneath it.
Well, to understand that underlying code, we have to look at the foundational theory of how humans interact. Linguists refer to this concept as face.
Right. Penelope Brown and Stephen Levinson. They developed this massive politeness theory back in, I think, 1978.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And they broke human interaction down into two main psychological drives, negative face and positive face. I find this framework incredibly helpful, honestly.
It is a great starting point. How do you usually explain it?
So I think of negative face as a deep desire for autonomy. You simply do not want to be imposed upon by other people.
Right, your personal space, your schedule, your freedom of action, all of that needs to remain untouched.
Exactly. And English politeness seems heavily coded toward protecting this negative face. If we go back to the software metaphor, English is like a sandboxed application on your phone.
Oh, I like that.
Right. Every app operates in its own little container, and it politely asks for permissions before it does anything. So you use phrases like, could you possibly, or I would appreciate it if.
You're constantly giving the other person an escape route so they never feel trapped or pressured.
Yes. But on the other end of the spectrum is positive face.
Right, which is the human drive to be liked, to be understood, and to be treated as a valued member of the in-group.
So if English politeness is a sandbox app protecting your individual data, Arabic politeness operates more like an open API.
Yes, exactly. It is constantly pinging the network, verifying connections, and actively enforcing collectivism and hospitality.
It's such a different way to navigate the world. But Brown and Levinson's theory, as helpful as it is, has a massive flaw according to our sources.
Yeah, a huge Western bias.
Right. Traditional Western linguistics try to calculate politeness algorithms using just three clinical variables: power, distance, and rank.
Who has the authority, how close are you socially, and how big is the request being made?
But if I try to apply only those three variables to an interaction in the Middle East, the math simply does not check out.
The equation breaks down entirely. Traditional Western models completely miss the foundational variables that govern Arabic interaction.
Like what, specifically?
Well, in many Arabic-speaking communities, the presence of bystanders, nuanced gender dynamics, and above all, religion, dictate the entire flow of politeness.
Oh, religion is huge. I would imagine classical Arabic rhetoric plays a massive role in that.
Absolutely. Concepts like gentle speech and the good word are rooted directly in Quranic verses and prophetic traditions.
So the language of politeness is permanently anchored to that cultural and religious bedrock.
Exactly. And we see those anchors in modern media, too. There's this great analysis of YouTube creators in the Arab world, and it shows communication patterns that are fundamentally different from Western creators.
How so?
Well, an Arabic speaker might casually use markers like yaki, which means my brother, or heavily emphasize ana, meaning I, when speaking to their audience.
Wow, so they are establishing immediate familial warmth right through the screen.
Right.
Because if an American YouTuber suddenly started calling all their subscribers my brother, It would probably sound like a forced branding tactic, you know?
Oh, definitely. It would feel completely inauthentic. But for the Arabic speaker, it's a required protocol to build that open API connection we talked about.
It signals to the listener, like, we are associated, we are part of the same network.
It is an orientation toward association over autonomy. But the most fascinating place to see this operating system run isn't on a screen.
Oh, where is it?
It's in the dining room.
Oh, yes. The hospitality dance.
Yeah.
We have a brilliant study from Sheffield Hallam University examining the ritual of offering food.
For anyone listening who has ever tried to refuse a second helping at a Middle Eastern restaurant or at a friend's house, you have probably experienced this exact social choreography.
It is intense. Let's walk through the specific scenario the researchers recorded. It's a natural, everyday interaction between a host, Najwa, and her guest, Amal. Najwa offers Amal a piece of cake.
Right, and as an English speaker, I would expect Amal to simply say, yes, please, or no, thank you, I'm full.
But Amal refuses the cake. And then Najwa insists.
And then Amal refuses a second time. She actually cites a diet and offers a standard blessing for the host.
But Najwa insists again, this time literally invoking God as a plea. She says, for God's sake, just take a day off your diet.
And Amal refuses a third time.
A third time. Finally, after this extensive conversational loop, Amal accepts a single spoonful of nuts instead of the cake.
And the craziest part to a Westerner, both women are perfectly happy, and the social contract is completely fulfilled.
It's wild. Contrast that sequence with the English scenario from the exact same study.
Right, so a British host offers a guest another drink. The guest politely refuses, giving a clear reason they have to leave soon.
And the host immediately pivots to a modified offer. They ask, how about some pita bread and hummus?
The guest refuses the hummus, and the interaction simply ends.
Just like that, the British host accepts the refusal immediately. They do not invoke a higher power to force-feed their guests hummus.
No, they definitely do not.
Now, playing devil's advocate here, looking at the Arabic transcript, I could theorize that this 3 refusal loop is just a test of the host's sincerity.
Like they're checking to see if the host actually means it.
Yeah, like if the host only asks once, maybe they didn't actually want to share the expensive cake. So the guest forces the host to prove their generosity through repetition. Isn't that just incredibly inefficient?
See, that is a very Western negative face way to analyze the mechanism.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it assumes the guest is guarding their autonomy until the host provides enough data to warrant opening up. But in the Arabic framework, this interaction is driven by what linguists call sociality rights.
Sociality rights. How does
Yeah.
that change the motivation of the guest?
Well, the host has a cultural and religious obligation to display generosity. It is literally how they build their social reputation and show love.
Okay, that makes sense.
And the guest, on the flip side, has a duty to allow the host to be generous without appearing greedy themselves. So the initial refusal is not a rejection of the food.
What is it then?
It is a highly conventionalized, required ritual of humility.
Oh, wow. So Amal refusing the cake is her broadcasting the message, I am humble, which then opens the channel for Najwa to broadcast, I am generous, I value you so much I will beg you to eat.
Exactly. They are actively co-creating a social bond through this exact sequence of inputs.
That is beautiful. When both people run the same software, the dance works perfectly.
Yeah.
But the problem arises when an Arabic speaker and an English speaker step onto the same dance floor, right?
Oh, absolutely. The codes are completely incompatible.
We see these system crashes heavily with second language learners. The research on native Arabic-speaking adults learning English in the American Midwest is a perfect case study.
Oh, the complement study. That one highlights the friction so well.
It really does. In Arabic, a compliment is often elongated and deeply effusive to demonstrate absolute sincerity.
Right. So an Arab student might tell their American English teacher, you are the best teacher in the entire state.
And the student believes they are showing proper, warm respect. They are feeding that positive face.
But the American teacher's operating system flags that input as a massive error.
It processes the compliment as obsequious, overly dramatic, or insincere, just because American English compliments are usually brief and understated.
And the error goes both ways, too.
Right. The Arab students in the study reported that the casual, bubbly friendliness of Americans, the standard, it is so great to see you, let's get coffee sometime, feels incredibly superficial and fake to them.
Because in an Arab context, expressing that level of joy requires backing it up with a lengthy interaction and a concrete, immediate invitation to your home.
Ah, so the American is trying to protect the student's negative face by keeping the interaction casual while the student feels their positive face is being starved.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And these underlying patterns govern broadcast media, too.
Oh, the TV talk show study.
Yes. A contrastive study compared Egyptian and American TV talk shows, and the structural differences are staggering.
The Egyptian hosts almost exclusively use positive politeness strategies, right?
They do. They use linguistic hedges, they actively avoid direct disagreement, and they prioritize maintaining harmony with the guest on air, even during really difficult topics.
While the American hosts lean heavily into negative politeness. They directly assert their points, they presuppose what the guest knows, and they intentionally create direct friction.
Yeah, they treat the guest as an autonomous sparring partner purely for the sake of ratings.
It's such a different vibe. But I think one of the most dangerous places for these two systems to collide is the literal translation trap.
Oh, for sure.
There is this specific formulaic phrase in Arabic madam. It literally translates to, it is presented to you.
Right.
So if I am in the Middle East and I compliment someone's watch, their polite, reflexive response might be, ababas. Literally, it is yours.
And if you take that literally, as an American, it is the equivalent of someone complimenting my jacket and me just taking it off and handing it over.
Exactly. It's like a polite reflex.
Yeah.
But a native English speaker who doesn't understand the pragmatic rules might actually reach out and take the watch.
Which would be horrifying. The Arabic speaker is not actually giving away the item. It is a ritualized display of extreme generosity.
So what is the socially correct input from the guest supposed to be?
You're supposed to say something like, it looks much nicer on its owner.
Oh, I love that. So taking the watch is a massive critical failure in the interaction.
Massive. And these failures happen with nonverbal cues, too, by the way.
Wait, really? Like what?
Well, pitch and cues. A steep, continuous drop in vocal pitch in Arabic is a nonverbal cue that signals, I am done speaking, feedback is welcome.
Oh, so it politely hands over the microphone.
Exactly. But in American English, a sudden drop in pitch subconsciously processes as negativity or aggression.
Wow. So the American perceives hostility when the Arabic speaker is actually being highly cooperative.
Exactly.
If human beings equipped with empathy and visual context clues struggle this much to navigate these basic interactions, imagine the nightmare of trying to translate an entire novel.
Where the social context is entirely invisible, this is the immense burden of the translator. They have an impossible job.
Because they act as cultural mediators. They are not merely translating vocabulary, they are porting an operating system from one platform to another.
Let's look at the translations of Najib Mahfouz's novel Midak Ali and Saud al-Sanusi's The Bamboo Stalk.
The translators for those books explicitly note how literal translation fails entirely when dealing with social honorifics.
Right, and to understand why, we need to look at the mechanism of how words drift from their literal meanings. Linguists separate absolute terms from relational terms.
Can you break down the difference for us?
Sure, an absolute term of address is tied to a verifiable fact. A doctor is a doctor carrying a medical degree. That translates cleanly across languages.
Because a doctor is a doctor everywhere.
Right. But a relational term is used purely for social effect. The word's original dictionary definition has been hollowed out, and society has filled it with a specific emotional and hierarchical weight.
Oh, that makes sense. Let's trace how that happens with a specific example. Take the Arabic word malam. Literally, it means teacher.
But in the context of an Egyptian cafe, the social drift turns it into boss or foreman. It becomes a title of respect for someone commanding the space.
So if a translator relies on the absolute definition and writes teacher Kirsha instead of boss Kirsha, the English reader spends the entire chapter wondering why a cafe owner is grading exams.
Exactly. The social hierarchy of the scene is completely erased. Or take the term ustad.
Right, which usually translates to professor.
Yes, but relationally, it can mean a past master of a craft, or it can even be used sarcastically to insult someone.
Context is everything. And the one that seems incredibly difficult to port over is C. El Said.
Oh, yes. The student translators in the research really struggled with this double politeness marker.
Some of them tried to render it simply as Mr. Husseini. But if they translate it as Mr., they are applying English negative politeness to an Arabic positive politeness term.
Which doesn't work at all. The term Si al-Sayed commands immense respect and deference in its cultural context.
So translating it as Mr. strips away all the warmth and reverence.
It actually becomes cold, borderline offensive to the character's status.
Yeah. So what do?
The translator has to find a relational equivalent in English, something closer to Reverend Lord, to convey the appropriate social weight to the reader.
They have to manually convert collectivist, honor-based, positive politeness into an English framework that the target audience can actually feel.
It is a delicate, delicate art. And they do this with proverbs, too, like translating the concept that external politeness can hide cunning, rather than translating the literal words of the proverb.
It's brilliant.
Okay.
But handcrafting translations like that does not scale to the modern internet.
And that need for scale is exactly where we hit the current crisis with AI and natural language processing models.
Let's bring this deep dive into the future. The models powering our global communication are incredibly Western biased. They are trained overwhelmingly on English internet data.
Meaning their baseline code evaluates politeness exclusively through that negative face, don't step on toes lens.
So when these AI models process Arabic text, they misinterpret the data
Wildly. To solve this, researchers finally compiled a massive new dataset called Adab.
The Arabic dataset for automated politeness benchmarking.
They gathered 10,000 authentic Arabic samples across 16 specific categories of politeness.
Things like appreciation, hospitality, and gratitude. And crucially, they did not just use formal text. They included regional dialects from the Gulf, Egypt, the Levant, and the Maghreb.
They absolutely had to include the dialects because of a linguistic phenomenon called diglossia.
Diglossia. I think of diglossia like having two completely different wardrobes.
Okay, I like where this is going.
You have the highly formal, modern standard Arabic. That's the tuxedo you wear for newscasts, legal documents, and official speeches.
Right.
Then you have the everyday spoken dialects, the comfortable clothes you wear at home, in the street, and with your friends.
That wardrobe analogy illustrates the problem perfectly. The real cultural nuance, the warmth of positive face, it lives in the everyday clothes.
The dialects.
Yes, the dialects carry the culturally grounded Islamic rhetoric and the classical concept of gentle speech. If AI is only trained on the tuxedo of modern standard Arabic, its understanding of human interaction becomes overly rigid.
Without the ADAB dataset, standard AI models will flag those effusive Arabic compliments as spam or overly dramatic.
Or if an AI assistant tries to draft a polite Arabic refusal during a business negotiation, it might take the first no literally.
Which completely breaks the cultural chain of connection. It fails to run the hospitality loop.
Exactly. Understanding those mechanics changes how you view every digital and physical interaction.
It really does. And for you, the listener, whether you are managing a diverse global team, traveling abroad, or just relying on translation apps on your phone, the takeaway here is to look past the literal words.
Look for the intent.
Yes, look at the underlying code. Ask yourself, are they using language to respect my autonomy and give me space? Or are they using language to actively pull me into their network and show generosity?
It requires an active shift in perspective to realize that efficiency is not always the goal of a conversation.
That is such a profound point. And before we wrap up, I want you to think about how these hidden politeness mechanics play out in the systems we interact with every single day, specifically in the workplace.
The corporate performance review is a fascinating environment for this cultural friction.
It really is. We spend so much time talking about standardizing global communication, but multinational companies often use standardized HR software based entirely on Western negative face metrics.
Right. They reward employees who are direct, autonomous, and self-promoting.
And they actively penalize people for not speaking up or taking initiative.
But if an employee is operating on a positive face framework, where showing deference, prioritizing group harmony, and waiting to be invited into the conversation are the ultimate forms of professional respect, they are going to be evaluated as passive or unengaged.
We might be accidentally building global professional systems that systematically punish entire cultures just for being polite in their own language.
That is a massive structural blind spot. As we build global AI systems and standardized communication tools, are we inadvertently forcing the entire world to adopt a single, sanitized English version of politeness?
And if we do, what profound cultural warmth and beautiful human rituals are we going to lose in the process?
It's definitely something to mull over.
Something to chew on during your next Zoom call, for sure. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep asking questions, keep looking at the code behind the words, and we will catch you next time.